welcome to the webinar today. My name is Brian Wildermuth and I'm with Zoomcasa, and I'll be your host and guide. We have a great webinar. We have two great leaders in the industry on with us today as well, and I'll do full introductions as they come to speak. But real quickly, they're both is kind of cool. They're both pricing geniuses in different ways, and both icons in all that they've done for our industry. So we're lucky to have this webinar. First is Scott McDonald. He's my business partner, co-founder of Zoomcasa, also a broker and agent and professional flipper, and he thinks he's good at golf. And then I'm just kidding, Scotty. And then my good friend,
he's better than you.
Perez. Jose has a long, illustrious career in the industry, everything from being an entrepreneur to consulting to tech, and now is heading up the sales and business development for Home Genius, a company of Radiant. So thank you both for being here. And I'm going to bring up the slides. This is what I should have done to start with. So we're going to have a great event. We'll be about 35 to 40 minutes on the presentation. And let me get that started. There we are. And so there's our photos. I think we actually look our age in our photos. Some people don't do that. But we actually look our age. So here's a cool thing. The price is wrong. This is a changing industry. This is a changing market. And this is a great time to hone your skills. And one skill that we feel agents are in great need of honing and sharpening is the skill of pricing. Now, I want to be clear. I've got a little fun in me. If you know the movie Happy Gilmore, I really wanted to use the correct name of this webinar, which would be The Price is Wrong, beep, but I couldn't say that. So I thought I'd share with you Bob Barker there. If you don't know that, go watch the movie. It's pretty funny, good movie, but The Price is Wrong. And before we get going, there is a sponsor, that is Zoomcasa. We're new to the arena, in the real estate arena. We are the industry's only iBuying platform that is built specifically for real estate agents. We're a white label for you as an agent to be able to compete with the larger iBuyers that are brokers. And what we do is we help you keep your clients, keep your listings, and get paid twice. So go check us out at Zoomcasa.com. Enough about us. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. We have an incredible agenda, a lot of information for you, and it's practical. This isn't fluffy stuff where you have to go buy the book. You've got to sign up to get more information. It's practical, applicable to you in the marketplace. So first and foremost, Scott is going to come on and share his expertise in the arena of pricing. Over 35 years in the industry, he's going to talk about why pricing expertise matters most, and give you a little bit of background on how pricing works. Then he's going to dive into the 4 specific components of how to find the right value of a home so that it's priced right and can move off the market. So we're excited to have Scott's intelligence and experience in that arena. And then following on that, Jose is going to come on and talk and share with you some technology that is AI driven that can help you truly be a pricing genius. So that's the agenda for today. And we're going to dive right in and start giving you the meat. So Scott, the mic is yours. You're on. Take it away.
Okay, so there's reasons for you to sharpen your pricing skills. And basically, Brian, am I taking it? Or you're the next slide. And the reasons are it maximizes your seller's asset. There's many people today that have been in the real estate business since 2012. They have not been in a market where prices were declining, prices were stable, and therefore don't know how to help a seller maximize their asset. As an example, I've got a listing that we were going to put on the market, and the sellers wanted to get $920,000 for the property. Well, the market has shifted. I wanted to have it listed at 900,000. What's going to happen is they are going to end up selling their house for less than $900,000. It's going to take longer. So it's going to cost them more money to carry the property. And then they're going to get less money than they would have had they priced it correctly from the start, which would have been $900,000. They're pricing it at 920. So it's going to take longer. They're going to have to reduce their price. As the house stays on the market longer, lower prices get offered on the property. So therefore, the seller's not maximizing their asset, and you're not helping them maximize their asset based upon where the market is today. The next reason, Brian, is it sets you apart from your competition. When you are, as we're going to get you to be, and with Jose's help, a home price genius, that sets you apart. When you can go and you can talk to people, relate stories to people on how you helped the sellers maximize their asset, and you have real world stories to tell, you're going to set yourself apart. It's going to be a differentiating factor for you when you have all the tools and you have the knowledge and you have the resources to tell people why they should price the house where it is and where you think it should be. It's going to help you get more business. And then also, as we mentioned earlier, it gets the home sold in a timely manner, which means less stress for the seller, less stress for you. And it also means that the seller maximizes their asset by not having to carry the property, maintain the property, have utilities, taxes, mortgage payments, and so forth. So everything makes you look more professional when you know how to properly price a house. And the reverse can be said too, when you're dealing with a buyer, getting them the house for the right price. But what are the best tools and methods used to determine price? You have the tax assessment, you have an appraisal. Appraisals are all over the board. If you don't have a contract on a house, it's very difficult for an appraiser to come up with a value. If you think about if you've ever had your house appraised for a refinance, the appraiser says, what number do you need? You give them a number and they find that number for that. The agent obviously has an opinion. The homeowner has an opinion. Then so many sellers go and they get a Zestimate on their house, or they go to Redfin to find out what their home value is, or perhaps they'll even go to realtor.com. You as an agent also have access to tools like Price Genius. You have Red Bell RE, you have Top Hap, you have automated valuation models that you can subscribe to also help you get to valuations. But really, the best way for you to determine what the home value is not necessarily what the tax assessor sees your property as, or what you see the seller themselves see the house as. The buyer, or again, the appraiser, it's going to be market value is what is really going to be the crux of which the value of the house is. What someone's willing to sell the house for and what someone is willing to pay for that house. That is where the true market value is. So honing in on the 4 components of a home's valuation is where we're going to help you become more knowledgeable, for you to learn the pieces of the puzzle to get the people the right price for their home. So the components of these home values would be, number 1, data. And we're going to talk about which pieces of data are most important for you to know and for you to track and for you to follow so that you become an expert and it becomes part of your DNA as a realtor to price houses. Number 2 is the condition of the property. We're going to talk about that and how to look at and what to evaluate when you are looking at the houses. Of course, the 3 L's of real estate, right? Location, location, location. We're going to talk more about how the location impacts the value. And then last but not least, the neighborhood itself, right? You could have a 10+ home. You could have the Taj Mahal in a neighborhood, but if zoning has a wrecker service in your backyard, guess what? Your home is not going to be as worth as much as it could be if it was in another neighborhood with a bunch of Taj Mahals. So let's talk about the data first. As far as the data goes, we're going to talk about inventory levels, pricing, days on market, absorption rate, which all leads to month supply of houses, and how each of these is going to come into play when you are determining the price of a house. So as far as inventory levels, are they up? Are they down? And why are they up or why are they down? Is it a sought after neighborhood? Is it an area where perhaps a major employer has gone out of the area and relocated to another market? You have to know the details of why people are selling. Is it in a neighborhood where they're going to be putting in a shopping center, or they're going to be putting in an airport and you're going to have a lot of noise and so forth? So you really have to know why inventory levels are up, why inventory levels are down. Now, NAR says that 6 months is a balanced market, and anything more than 6 months supply of houses is a buyer's market. Under 6 months is a seller's market. And in my experience, what I've come up with, I think it's less than 2 months is really a seller's market. 2 to 3 months is more of a neutral market. And 3 months or more is when you really see prices start to depreciate and come down. So right now, in most of America, we are seeing and experiencing a seller's market today. So we have to keep a track of, how many houses are for sale in any particular neighborhood and any particular zip code. Is it up from last month? Is it up from 6 months ago? Is it up from a year ago? Because that's going to impact, the number of buyers in the market and how many houses are going to be selling and what the competition is. And then with more competition, it's going to drive prices down. So you have to keep an eye on inventory levels, and that's why. Also, are prices up or prices down? And again, the big question is why. If you have fewer houses for sale, especially in sought after neighborhoods or sought after markets, the prices are going to continue to go up. Right now, as I mentioned, we have low levels of inventory nationwide, and therefore prices are able to maintain and sustain where they are now. Previously, April back through November, the market was just skyrocketing, and you could put any price on any house and you'd get a contract because interest rates were low, inflation was low, inventory was low, buyer demand was high, and therefore it really, all you had to do is put $10,000 above what the last house sold for and you got it sold. Right now, again, prices are moderating. We're going to see some properties, some people who have circumstances that will dictate that they really need to give their house away. So we'll see some houses selling below market, but as a general rule, I think we're going to see a stability in prices here for the next several months while inflation continues to be high, while inventory remains stable and interest rates are a little bit higher. I think we're going to stay right where we are price-wise. But you need to talk to agents. You need to track pricing. There's a number of different tools you can use to do that. But also, most importantly, you need to know the market. You need to be in the MLS. You need to be looking at what people are doing with their properties. There's a research firm, Altos Research, that tracks every zip code in the country and every house, and they'll tell you whether or not people are decreasing the price of their home or increasing the price of their home, so you can get an idea of where you need to price your property that you're listing for your clients based upon how many properties have decreased their prices. So knowing where prices are is critically important. The next thing that you need to pay attention to is days on the market. Are days on the market increasing, staying stable, or decreasing? And also, besides looking at the days on market as an average, look at the median days on market. How many houses are selling, below 10 days and above 10 days, and 10 days is the median. If that median number goes up to 15, you know that there's houses staying on the market longer, and there's not as many immediate sales in the market as there were previously. Average days on the market that are increasing are going to tell you that prices are going to be coming down, because the stress level of sellers today gets higher and higher as the house stays on the market. You don't want to have to make your bed, vacuum your carpets on the way out the door, keep your kitchen sink clean, things along those lines. So the stress level has you decreasing prices of houses. Also, you need to see what the absorption rate is so that you know what buyer demand is in the areas that you're servicing. So the absorption rate, how many contracts in the last 7 days, how many contracts in the last 30 days, so that you can determine what the month supply of houses is. So knowing if buyer demand is out there. As an example, I track these numbers every week. Last week here in Northern Virginia, we just had 499 sales. In comparison to last year, it was 969. The year before was 1,012. So you can see that over time we have less buyer demand. We have less buyer demand because it costs more to live. Inflation is high. Interest rates are high. Yesterday, we just had a big bump in interest rates. We're 6.5. So again, that's going to slow the absorption rate down, which will put a pressure on prices in a downward fashion. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, the month supply. So you take the active properties for sale and divide it by the number of contracts written in the last 30 days. And that gives you the month supply in that market. So if you see the month supply increasing, that's going to tell you that you're going to have longer days on market. Longer days on market are going to have an impact on prices. Also, why are there longer days on market? Is it because there's an increase in inventory? So all of these pieces of the puzzle correlate with each other to help you determine where the market's headed and where prices are headed as a result. So the other piece of the puzzle that you need to consider. So data is a huge piece, as you just heard and saw, but property condition is critical as well. So you want to do an overall valuation of the exterior of the house. Do you have weeds in the mulch bed, right? Are bushes not trimmed? Are trees overgrowing and hitting the roof of the house? Things along those lines. Do they have nice landscaping? Do they have nice hardscaping? Are there cracks in the foundation like the one you see here? Is the roof in good condition? Does it show that it needs repair, or it's in good shape? And then, of course, the interior condition. What's the maintenance schedule been on the house? What updates have been made? And is there grease on the stove? Are the filters in the HVAC system cleaned and replaced? Is there dust in the air returns? Things along those lines. Those will all help you determine whether or not the house has been maintained and if there's issues that could arise down the road. So property conditions critical. Also, location. Look at and see if you again have power lines in the backyard. Another thing would be if you had water tanks in the backyard. There was an oil farm in a neighborhood here in Northern Virginia called Mantua that you're looking at the big oil tanks and you've got 18-wheelers coming and going. All those things were going to impact the value of the house versus if you back to a pond or back to a golf course that's not getting hit by golf balls, scenic vistas, things along those lines. So location, and then location within the neighborhood, location within the city or town that you live in, all of these things have an impact on the value. And then the next thing that you need to worry about is the neighborhood. And we talked a little bit about it initially, is if you have the Taj Mahal, but it backs to a wrecker service because there's no HOA and there's no rules or regulations and zoning around where the houses are located, that could have an impact. Or if you have, a colonial and then you have a single wide and then you have a split level, the continuity of the neighborhood is also going to add or subtract value from the property. If you have a gated golf course community where they maintain the grounds for you, so the grass is always cut, the mulch is always laid, plants are always there, all of those things are going to have an impact on the value. So the access into the neighborhood, the HOA rules and regulations, amenities. Do they have a pool? Do they have tennis courts? Do they have pickleball courts? Are they keeping up with, the latest trends so that the residents in the neighborhood have all the quality services? Do they have a gym facility? Things along those lines. So all of these little pieces of the puzzle all add up to you knowing what you're doing as far as pricing a house goes, up, down, flat, whatever the market is. So again, we have data to look at, property condition, property location, and then again, the neighborhood in which it's located. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the webinar for people. So feel free to reach out to me. At this point, Brian, I'll turn it right back over to you.
Thank you very much. That was incredible amount of information in a short time. I got my shades on now because I see how much I can't see anymore. Age is hitting me, but I wanted to match my wall back here. I want to now bring on our partner in crime here today for his portion of this. And Jose Perez, as I shared, is an industry influencer, an industry expert in the area of home pricing. And we're really excited to have him today. Now, Jose, I was searching Google for a good image for your company, and I'm pretty sure this isn't you on this for sale sign, but have you seen this thing out on Google?
I actually, that was, we were going to be a brokerage 3 or 4 years ago when we started this, and that was our branding. So yeah, that's funny. That is not me. That's funny.
Okay.
I'm surprised that's still on there.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't you, but the
Do you
bottom,
have a fedora, Jose?
What's that?
Can you go put on a fedora like that? So we can see you. See how close it's like, see how it's the name and likeness, right? The NILs, get you some NIL bucks.
so I'm going to stop sharing now as Jose comes on to talk to you about the power of using AI combined with an AVM to help you in this marketplace to become that pricing genius. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Jose, you are going to take the screen, right, and do a demo for us.
I am. And before I do a demo, I'm going to touch on something that Scott focused on. If it was in his ending, and thank you, Brian and Scott, for having me. Scott talked about data, condition, location, and neighborhood, right? So there's a lot of work involved in pricing a property. And over the past few years, with the market being what it was, it was easy to skate by and maybe not do as thorough a job as you might do, whether you're working with buyer or seller. So as we launched our platform, which I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, we knew that there was a problem in that agents didn't probably do enough to spend the time doing correct pricing estimates. Good agents do, and they'll spend an hour or two doing it. But we did a survey, and we learned that 81% of agents say they spend 30 plus minutes doing what I call a legacy CMA, using kind of the old school way, right? Going to the MLS, going to RPR. Zillow, Scott had a slide that addressed that. And 63% said that they spent over 45 minutes. And the other question we asked was, well, if it was easier and took less time, would you do more pricing estimates? Would you spend more time doing this very, very important task to be able to show people, what their property is worth and really do a good job and stand out and differentiate yourself? So the reason I share that with you is because we have come up with a platform that we call Genius Price. And Genius Price is a compilation of algorithms, artificial intelligence, and home price indices that cover the 4 bullets that Scott talked about. Data. All right, so we have a ridiculous amount of data that we use to be able to come up with comps for the property, to come up with an initial estimate of value for the property. We're always going to need your input, but we're going to save you a lot of time pulling that data. Condition. So you'll see here in a few seconds that we have artificial intelligence that scans the MLS photographs and gives us a ranking for today, just bathroom and kitchen, eventually 7 rooms in the home. So that saves you the time of having to either go into the property or look at MLS photos and compare and contrast. Location. We will also show you how we can basically draw a map based on what you think is appropriate for the market based on where it is. And that will change the value because certain comps are going to fall out and other ones will come in. And then lastly, neighborhood. Well, we have a tool called the Home Price Index that allows you to price different neighborhoods and see what's been happening over time in those neighborhoods. So without further ado, I'll go right in and show you. So I have this property, 12134 Bishop's Fur Drive in Tampa, Florida. So I'm going to hit the Genius Price button. And what that's going to do now, it's going to automatically find me 10 listed and 10 sold comparables around this property. It's going to use an algorithm that's going to go in and look at those comparables and tell me how close they are to each other, age, again, I won't get into all the details of how the algorithm works. That's not what this is about, but will give us an initial value of $555,723. Now, this estimate in many cases is pretty accurate depending on the neighborhood, right? But you're always going to need an agent that understands what's going on in the market to make adjustments to that price to come up with the value. So Scott went through the very specific things that you do in a manual fashion, right? Because he's looking at it from a much deeper standpoint. But if you wanted to do something relatively quick and still come out with a very deep dive of what this property is worth, you can do that here, and I'll show you how. So the first thing is this little area here called computer vision. So computer vision is our artificial intelligence that's looking inside the property and determining the condition of the bathroom and the kitchen. So let's take a look at the bathroom and kitchens real quick so you can understand what that looks like. So let me get to the kitchen. So here's the kitchen, right? So you see it's got stainless steel, it's got an island, it's got the certain hardwood floor or the tile. So you see the cabinet. So it's got all that information. So our artificial intelligence is ranking that a 4-star, right? Without you having to go in and do that, it's done that for you. And same thing with the bathrooms. If we go find a bathroom, we could see here what those bathrooms look like. And that's actually, that's not the bathroom, is it? And you can see what the bathrooms look like and come up with a ranking there on the bathroom as well. So this is happening automatically. The reason I'm showing you this is because then you can go down now and look at the comparables. You see how each comparable has ratings next to it. So these happen to all be 4-star comparables, right? There's a 3-star down here. So it's done a good job of kind of grouping these together. But you as the agent can go in here and make changes to the comparable. So let's make believe that this didn't say 4 and maybe it said 3 and you said that's not a good comparable. And you want to uncheck this one because it doesn't make any sense and check this one instead. And now you recalculate and you're going to come up with a new value. So I've saved you a lot of time having to go in and look at each photograph and being able to determine it. However, if you maybe didn't trust it, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but maybe you didn't, or you wanted to be a little bit more forthright with your customer, you can go in and you can look at all the photographs yourself and compare them to the subject property. We also have historical photographs as well. So this is the property when it's sold in April of 2022, and this is the property when it's sold in February 2017. So you can start seeing what's happened to this property over time and be able to understand what you're going to either have to pay for if you're a buyer or what you might have to list for if you're a seller based on what's going on. So that's the subject property, but we can go down here to the comparables and we can look at all the photographs for every comparable. Now, again, you don't have to with our tool because we have that artificial intelligence that's looking at the photographs, but you can easily go in here and compare the photographs really quickly and determine if that's a good comp. Is this a good comp? Exactly. And it's all in one place. One of the things that we also help do to save time is to have everything in one place. So you don't have to be bouncing around. I don't know, you might be in multiple MLSs. You might have multiple platforms that you use. You can see here, I went from 2022 to 2012 right there. I clicked the button and I could see what's going on. So those things help you determine the condition of the property. But once again, going back to the artificial intelligence, it's all here right here. And we've automated that part of it. So
Jose,
yes.
Jose, your rating, and I'm sorry if I missed this, your ratings are 1 through 5?
1 through 5. Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. Yes, so it's 1 through 5, 1 being on the low end of the scale, 5 being on the upper end of the scale, all done by scanning about 3 billion photographs over a period of 3 years and working with the GSEs and their rankings and their appraisal standards. So we didn't just make up those rankings. We actually took appraisal standards based on the condition of different properties. And we taught the system to understand the difference between a kitchen, a bathroom, et cetera, and be able to then pick up to 50 objects in that room to determine what it was, whether 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Does that answer your question?
Great. Yes, sir. Thank you. Just want to clarify that.
Okay, so the third bullet that Scott talked about was location. So you see here, our map looks at a mile square. Well, that might be too much or too little. So we give you the ability to either pin from half a mile up to 10 miles, or you might want to say, you know what, I want to draw my own map. I really know what's going on. So everything south of here and west of here is what I want to look at. And so what it's going to do, it's going to go out and it's going to find new comparables and give me a new price based on that. All right. And so that's great. And then I can also go in and edit filters. So I can go in and take a look at different filters from the age of the property to how old the properties are, or whatever it is that you're looking for to do, including, by the way, we talked about the market changing. You can say, well, our default is we go back 12 months. Maybe we only want to go back 6 months or 3 months, or maybe we want to stick to the Westchester Phase 2A subdivision because that's really where all the good comps are, right? And you apply it, and now it's only going to look at comparables inside of that particular subdivision and give us a new price. So our idea here is to really save you time so that, number one, even if it's not someone who's ready to buy or sell today, it's someone in your sphere, it's an existing customer that you want to help out. Maybe you want to do a pricing report on a regular basis to provide additional value, and it puts you in a position to generate referrals and other business. you can do this. You might not spend 30, 45 minutes or an hour doing a deep dive, kind of appraisal style CMA, but you could do something like this and really utilize this as a really robust way to be able to get to the price of a property. So,
Jose,
and I don't know.
Question, Jose?
Sure.
Can you filter based upon square footage?
Absolutely. Yep. you
Okay,
can
good.
filter-
All right. Yeah.
you-
I just
you-
didn't see that as you were
Yeah,
going.
yeah,
through it.
I'll show you if you want to see it. So yeah, you can fill the square footage, one of the edits. Oops, sorry, let me go back. Clear filters. Yeah, you can filter, there's 16 different filters that you.
Yeah,
that you
so
can
it's a
do.
robust, it's a very robust system.
Yeah, it's very robust system. And then when you're done, you can print a report. You can look at the home price index. Let's look at that real quick. So the home price index gets to that last bullet of Scott's, which was neighborhood. Okay, so our home price index it gives us the ability to type in a zip code, a town, an SMA or CMSA, and be able to determine what the value has been in that market over a period of time. So we go back 15 years, and I compared this yesterday, two towns, Midlothian, Texas, and Mansfield, Texas, 4-bedroom homes, and determined that the median value in Midlothian is 373, 318 in Mansfield. But even more importantly is what the home price index shows us, which means what's the appreciation been over time in each of those markets. And you can see here that they're very, very similar. But we do this sometimes and we determine for one reason or another, one zip code, one town, one area is going to appreciate much faster than the other. And that's going to have an influence on what the price is. So the idea here is that we want to give the agent the ability to do all these things very easily, very quickly, so that they can do more pricing estimates and utilize that pricing estimate to be in a position to provide more value to their customers and to help get referrals from their customers, because you are providing that much value. Getting a Zestimate is not the answer, as everybody knows, or an AVM or any other kind of tool like that. This is something that you combine, as Scott said at the beginning, and Brian said at the beginning, the power of an AVM with the power of artificial intelligence and algorithms that then takes the knowledge of the agent, brings it in to give much more value to consumers, both buyers and sellers.
That is powerful stuff. I'm blown away. I loved how Scott was like, you were on a sales pitch there for Scott because he knew about the product, but not all that minutia detail. And what's cool is you're taking the best of a manual process that goes deeper in a sense, and we're marrying that with data. And when you have both, if you just have one, you don't know. One of the things as I look at all these AVMs out in the space, we say, how do we know which valuation is right? If you line them all up, there's always variances between Zillow and Redfin and all the different realtor.com. So how do you know which one's right? So I want to move into a Q&A here for next few minutes. Well, I got both of these geniuses on here. And so how would you answer that question, Jose? How do you know which valuation is right? Is it Scott's? Is it Zillow's? Who's
That's I'm gonna answer it this way.
Hmm?
The foundation of this technology started with one of our sister companies who does valuations for all the largest lending institutions in the country. And they're not pricing one property, they're pricing thousands of properties. And they pay us a lot of money to use our tool to do that. Not this exact tool, but basically the guts of this tool is what they use. And so what I would tell you is that we have large lending institutions trusting our algorithm to make decisions. And this is the same algorithm that the agents now have to utilize for their pricing estimates.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the other thing too with Jose's product, I mean, we've been talking about this for a year and a half, right, Jose? And what the product does, and how it can be valuable to agents, and what agents look for pricing houses. So it's not just straight AI, it's not just straight data. There has been some input, not only from me but from other realtors, I'm sure, across the country too, to make it.
Well, no, and that's a great point, Scott. Thanks for bringing that up. I mean, we've interviewed thousands, literally, of agents, and now we have thousands of users that are providing input all the time. Our support team are real estate agents, so they understand what's important to a real estate agent, and so they understand, what things need to be in the platform. But again, we depend on the agent, right? At the end of the day, no algorithm is, whether it's ours or anybody else's, is ever going to tell the full story. All we've done is made it easier for the agent to input their knowledge and simplify, again, the AI, for example. You don't have to go look at every photograph anymore. You can just trust the AI. The home price index, you don't have to go in, study different zip codes or whatever, just type in the zip code and boom, you get the information. So we still need the agent and what the agent knows about that market and that property. We've just made it simpler for them to do it so that they do more and they use this tool to be able to generate other business.
No, it's great. And so that leads me to a question for Scott, because it still is important for the agent to have a pulse on the data and to use the data and understand the data as it pertains to how they could talk to a seller or buyer. We've always heard, was it Tommy Hopkins? How's the market? It's great. Some of you guys don't even know who Tommy Hopkins is because that's a long time ago. But Scott, how do you do what you're doing? How does an agent do what you're doing? We see the automated tools. How does an agent do what you're doing to be consistent in the data?
Well, one of the things that an agent needs to do is get familiar with their MLS. Go in and look at the things that we talked about today, active properties in either zip codes, towns, counties, or whatever that they're working in, and track the data. Have a save search set up so that every week you just go in and hit save search and it brings up the number of active properties. So you don't have to go in and recreate the tool every single time you want to do it. So active, under contract 7 days, under contract 30 days, settled 30 days. And the reason I tracked those numbers was before, when we had all the short sales, you'd see how many houses went under contract and actually how many settled in 30 days. So you could see how long it was taking for short sales to be approved, as an example. So, and I like to track days on market and, again, average sales price. So if you have those searches set up, it's easy to go in day to day or week to week or monthly to track those numbers so that you have them at your fingertips, that you can talk with clients about it intelligently. Additionally, one thing that, when I got into business way back when, there was no internet. So the MLS was in a book and it got delivered to your office once a week. So I used to go out and see 5 houses a day. And I still encourage my agents to go out and see 5 houses a day, because you know what? The pictures can't tell you if it smells like cat pee, right? Or it can't, and not everybody posts every picture. They only post the good ones to get them sold. So you can go and you can see if there's mold in the corner in the basement, and that's why that house continues to stay on the market. So it's important to be a knowledge broker by going out and actually seeing properties and not just look at pictures online, because they don't tell the whole story.
It shows your why you're at the level you're at, though. It is a level. The agents that are going to survive and thrive through any market are ones that will take those extra steps. And I too was around when that book was around. It was kind of like, hey, you're not supposed to have this book, but I'll give it to you for a couple of days. Don't tell anybody. And I can't believe how many trees we killed to just sell houses. But nonetheless, we're forward. So Scott, I have one more question, and then I'll ask the same question to Jose, which is in your different roles, whether it's with your agents or in the Zoncasa world, you're kind of interacting with agents on valuations and pricing and CMAs. Where's the biggest gap right now? Like, this isn't disparaging agents, okay, but we do have a gap because there's been a stretch of time where most people just have to blink and then they have 15 offers and it's 75,000 over asking. Where's the gap that we need to close in adaptability?
I really believe that it's in training and, getting the knowledge that you need. Going out, we were with Jose last week in DC and learning about the business, what's happening in the business, and being around others in the business that are successful. But again, having that training and having the tools in place and know where to go get those tools. A majority of the people that were on this call today, their MLSs may not have the ability to get Genius Price, right? And so they didn't know about Genius Price. So, coming and reading newsletters, going to events, listening to podcasts, talking to other people around the country to see where they're getting their information, what's happening in their market. So I think it all comes down to self-education, training by companies to teach agents how to properly price houses is where the big gap is that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you say about that, Jose? I know you guys are building a pretty good agent community too, but what do you say the gap is?
I would say what Scott just said, but I think it goes beyond that. I think it's mindset. I think it's commitment. I think it's discipline to do things the right way. And like you said a few minutes ago, Brian, even 6 months ago, a year ago, it's like you could just wake up in the morning and have offers, right? Because it was so crazy. So the old Warren Buffett quote, you know who's got the swimming trunks on when the tide goes out, right? And right now there's a bunch of people that are sitting there with no trunks on, and I think the people that are taking the time to educate themselves and to have the discipline and the mindset to provide value. This isn't just about closing a deal. This is about providing value and differentiating yourself from other people in the market. Consumers have a pretty high level of expectation of transparency, of professionalism, of everybody that you do business with, whether it's us in the real estate business or going and buying a plane ticket. I mean, they want the information. They want to be able to make decisions based on information. Look at what Yelp exists for, right? To go in and decide what restaurant you want to go to, because you got all the information right there. And the whole pricing of a property is such a weird kind of opaque process, such a mystery to most consumers. That's why they type in an address in any of the portals. I don't want to pick on Zillow, and that's what they think it is. They don't realize all the things that Scott just went through, all the details, the data, condition, location, neighborhood, all those factors, and 50 others that go into coming up with a value. And so I think that's, again, the commitment to doing it right and having the discipline to do it regularly, to provide additional value, and to not be a transactional agent, but to be a relationship agent, I think makes all the difference in the world by doing this kind of thing.
And what you're going to do, Jose, when you do that, is you're going to build a career for
Exactly.
for a lifetime with longevity versus being a flash in the pan realtor for a year or two, comes in and takes advantage of the opportunity that the market presents itself.
And that's why, as an industry, we don't have a great reputation, because people do just that. They sell it, they're gone. 74% of agents do nothing after the sale. 74%. So think about that. This is, again, we're talking about pricing properties, but it's not just about getting the listing or making the sale. It's about staying in touch with the consumer. And I think that this is a great way to do it. Refrigerator magnets don't cut it anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. And that's my wheel well for my career. So I agree with you on that. Not refrigerator magnets. It's helping people stay in touch after the sale. Do either of you guys have one last thing to leave? And then we're going to close out with some key takeaway points. And I would like you, Jose, to share, how can an agent learn more about Home Genius? Where do you direct them?
Just go to homegenius.com. We have a number of white papers, webinars that not only I've done, but our support folks have done. You can even sign up for the home price index separate from Genius Price if you wanted to see how that works. We do work with a lot of big brokerages. We have to get approved in the MLS to use the feed. So I would tell you that if you're interested in this, happy to have a conversation and go with your broker to the MLS to get approval to use your feed so that we can let you use the system. So homegenius.com. And my final thought is just what I said before: mindset. Change your mindset. This is important stuff. And if you can become expert at it and have the right tools to provide that information, I think you separate yourself and you have, as Scott said, a very successful career in front of you.
Fantastic. Great words of wisdom there. And Scott, anything left for you?
Again, it comes down to, I think, self-education and training is going to get you a self-fulfilling prophecy with a long career in real estate. If you're not out there learning, if you're not out there understanding what's happening in the market, if you're not, again, getting educated, you're not going to stick around in this business long. It's a rapidly changing industry, and you have to have that mindset, as Jose said, that everything changes and it's a fast changing world. And if you're not in it every day, you don't know it and you're going to be left behind. So stay active, go out, see properties, talk to people, go to trainings, listen to podcasts, do all the stuff that you need to do so that you can give your clients the right information, whether they're buying or selling a house, and then the referrals will come in.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Use tools like Home Genius to send to your database once a month, once a year, just to give them an update. Hey, do you have enough insurance? Hey, did you know your property value did this, up or down? Or do you know who made more money last year, you or your house? Just keep tools like his keep you in front of your clients, which allows you to have, again, a successful long career.
That's awesome stuff. This little time we spent together is worth its weight in gold. Just the wisdom that you've shared just in the last few minutes. but take advantage of what's in front of you. We're going to close out here with just a couple of key takeaways from today. So the first is, according to Scott, track key indicators and do it such that it becomes part of your DNA. I think the most important takeaway on this is that you don't just look at the data. And Scott's a little bit of an anomaly. Okay, I tell him this, it's make his head bigger, but he is a numbers guy, and he literally spits those numbers out without looking at a cheat sheet. He can look back 4 or 5 years and tell you what the supply was at that time, the inventory at that time. But if you have to talk about it. You can't just look at the numbers. So get engaged when someone asks you how the market is, start sharing real data. The second one is for what Scott shared is combine data, property condition, location, and neighborhood, combine those attributes to determine the true value. And lastly, thanks to Jose, use powerful tools like Genius Price and combine that, as Scott said, with physicality. Go get in front of properties, go to the property, actually see, smell, touch the property. So we really appreciate you making time to spend time with us today. And if you have an opportunity, check out Zoncasa.com. We'll be coming to a market near you. Jose, thank you again so much for your wisdom. And Scott, I hope you all have a very successful rest of the year. Start digging into price, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.